there, friends! I am so excited to be here with you today. If you're new to my channel, I am Megan Andrew, and today Cathy Zielske has invited me to a game of Knock It Off. And Knock It Off is a really fun game that Cathy is playing with fellow card makers, where we each send each other a card, and then we have to get inspiration from that card to create our own. So today I get to play with a beautiful CZ original card. Let's find out what it looks like. I'm so excited to see what's in this card, and I already love the color scheme. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Any combination of red, blue and yellow is right up my alley, and this has the coral, the teal, and the yellow, which I think is honeycomb, which is one of my favorites from Concord and Ninth. So that's one of the first things that jumps out at me, is that vibrant color scheme. The second thing that jumps out at me are the hearts, but not because of the shape, but because they look like they're hanging on bunting. So that gives me an idea to have something like hanging on a banner or bunting. So I love that idea. The other thing that jumps out at me is the smaller sentiment. And of course, it's a little punny sentiment. And I think that's one of Cathy's. And that's a really great thing. And I love that she embossed that with white embossing powder. So those three things are really jumping out at me: the color scheme, the bunting, and this smaller sentiment. So let me jump into my stash and see what I have that kind of fits these ideas that are swirling around in my head. Okay, I'm going to set Cathy's card up here and show you what I pulled out. And I had some new things sitting in my new pile from Concord and Ninth. So this is what I grabbed, okay? There's a lot of pattern going on in the background, so I thought, what better way to build a pattern than with a turnabout stamp set from Concord and Ninth. And this is their newest one. It's called Contempo Turnabout. So we're going to give that one a try. And of course, when you use a turnabout, the turnabout jig is essential. It's really fun, and I can't wait to show you how to use it. The other thing that I thought about was something hanging. And so I thought I would hang my sentiment from a banner. So wish me luck. I have an idea, and I think we can execute it. So I've grabbed the all-together alphabet uppercase die and the lowercase die. This is really great because you can die cut the entire thing at once and have all of these letters. So you can have like a rainbow of letters in your stash that you can use for anything. So I might just use the uppercase. I might use the lowercase too. Jury's still out. I also have 4 colors that I want to use. So watermelon, and the reason I want to use watermelon is because I am a Concord and Ninth summer camp counselor this year, and watermelon is my cabin color, so I've got to represent watermelon. So we're going to go with that. Honeycomb, as I said on Cathy's card, I'm pretty sure that's honeycomb, and that's one of my favorite yellows right now. This is Harbor. I love this beautiful blue color, and I think it plays so well with these other colors. And then Creamsicle. These two are 2 brand new Concord and Ninth colors. Creamsicle is lighter than Clementine, and it definitely has the exact same color as the creamsicles we like to enjoy when it's hot outside. So those are the 4 colors I grabbed. I also grabbed some inks in the same colors, but instead of Harbor, I grabbed powder to just lighten that down a bit for that background. Okay, so when you open any of your turnabout stamps, you have the stamp set, then you have this placement guide, which is really great. You also can get the all-in-one turnabout jig, and this is a really great tool. Not only is it sticky, so you can use it for other things, but it makes this so seamless. And since I'm going to be teaching this summer. I need to make sure I practice with this. So we're going to practice today. This is the greatest thing. I mean, the Concord and 9 team always creates such great educational materials with all of their releases, and this jig guide is so good. So if you follow step 1, to peel the turnabout image off the stamp set backer and position on the alignment aid. So we're going to take that piece off, stick that back there. I am going to pull off the turnabout image. This is what they mean by the turnabout image. So this is what's going to be turning, what we're going to be stamping with. So this is the alignment aid, and it says to position face down on the alignment aid. Now the face is what you're going to be stamping with, okay? So you kind of want to get your head over it and make sure your stamp is lining up with the images on that alignment aid. And you can really kind of get in there and place each part down at a time. So you don't have to just slap the whole thing down at once. And it's according to what the design looks like, but you can really kind of move the individual pieces to make sure they're lined up. Like this one is slightly off, so I'm going to kind of give it a little wiggle here, give that one a wiggle, and then it is lined up. It says to leave the protective sheet on the turnabout jig, and you want to make sure that Concord and 9th, their logo there is upright, and corner it on the MISTI. So having a MISTI or some other kind of stamping tool that has that corner is really handy here. I'm going to push it up so you can see my corner here. And then you want to put this here, put the center of that X where it says center rotation point. You want to line that up on the turnabout jig, and making sure that you're paying attention down here too, because even though the center might be correct, might be off on this side. So make sure every point in the corners are correct. So, and before you close the door, make sure you don't move it like I just did, because that can happen. There we go. Then we are going to close the door. Now you don't have to worry here about making sure anything is down. You just want to get your stamp on there. There we go. And then we are going to peel this off because our stamp is in the right place. We don't need this anymore. And we can then peel off the jig. So now the sticky side is exposed. And this is when you want to place your white piece of paper or whatever color you're using. And so on the jig, there is a guide for an A2 size piece of paper. So line that up. It's a little white guide in there. And then you are ready to start. You're going to make sure that number 1 is at that top right corner before you start, and then you're going to flip it every time. You can do this up to 4 times, but you can do as few or as many passes as you like. All right, so let's get going. I'm going to start with Creamsicle, this pretty orange, and I'm going to ink up all the little pebbles, I like to call them little pebbles, on this stamp, and stamp it up. I'm going to use my Stampendable here to make sure that this goes all the way around, and I think I missed one there. That's okay. We can just grab him again. There we go. And then I'm going to do another go on those to make them a little bit darker. And oh, that's so pretty. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, so we're going to stick with that. Then you're going to move your jig. We're going to move it 90 degrees to the right so that the number 2 is at the top right corner, and we're going to change ink colors. I'm going to do powder. because that blue and orange pop, I think that'll be great. Okay. But you know what? All the colors are going to be on here, so it doesn't really matter which order you go anyway. I'm just going to go blue to orange. Okay. And you can see where it's only hitting the jig on the outside. Oh, that moved. That's okay. Put your magnet down. Put your magnet down. You can see where it's hitting the jig on the outside. There's some inky spots, so make sure you're not touching those or you're going to smear your project. Okay, let's do that one more time. There we go. Next, I'm going to do watermelon. So we're going to turn so that number 3 is in that top right corner. I'm going to get this down here with my magnet just to make sure that nothing moves, and ink up my stamp again because it is clean. Remember, no moving the stamp, only moving the jig. And I love watermelon. I am so excited to be the watermelon camp counselor. Really excited that they chose me for that cabin. How pretty is that? Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so I'm going in with watermelon again, you guys. I'm gonna give that another pass here. Now, let me see if there's any that are not dark enough. I think that looks pretty good. Last but not least, we're gonna move our jig one more time so that 4 is in that upper right corner, and we are going to use honeycomb. This is one of the colors that Cathy used, and I just love it. So we're gonna go with this one. I think it gives this color scheme a really modern twist with this edition. My honeycomb is pretty juicy. Still pretty juicy. Even though I use it quite a bit, it's still pretty juicy. So that color is going to just smooth out as we let this dry. Love it. I love that background. It's really fun. So, like Cathy, now I have like a fun pattern background. Now I have a plan for a fun sentiment to hang in front of this background, but my background is pretty bright. So if I hang anything on top of it, it's going to get a little lost. Now this is where I love to use vellum. Vellum will soften it and allow whatever you put on top to really stand out a bit better. So I have a stitched frame die in my stash that I'm going to use to cut both my background and a piece of vellum, and I'm just going to die cut those off camera. Okay, so I have both pieces here. So this one will cover up that one just to tone that pattern down a little bit. But before I adhere, I always know better because I might want to add like a little sub sentiment. So I'm just going to put this off to the side and work on my main sentiment. This is where those alphabet dies are going to come in, and I think I want to use all uppercase. So we're going to cut this out of the watermelon, the honeycomb, and the Harbor cardstocks real quick. Ooh, I love that you get all of these letters. Try to get this one out. Usually comes out, it's not coming out right now. All in one pass. You can do something really fun with this negative piece too. I'm going to just grab hooray. I love that there's 2 O's so that I don't have to do it again. How great is that? 2 R's. That's so handy. There's hooray there. So I'm just going to put these in a little dish and then keep these in a baggie so that if I'm creating a word later, I will have this already made in watermelon. And I actually have a couple extra letters in white from another time that I cut those, so I'm going to use those in there too. So let's get started making this sentiment. Okay, I've got my tweezers here. I've got my Gina K Designs little bottle of adhesive. I'm going to do a little bit of stacking and shadowing on these. So some of my shadows are going to be this blue, and I'm going to top with the different colors, and some of my shadows are going to be the watermelon, because I want either those two colors because they're kind of the darkest, so they'll stand out a little bit more, and it's just kind of getting a good combination. I love the way that looks. Okay, we're going to go with that. So I have a few letters left over there. Then I'm just going to adhere them and offset them just ever so slightly to the upper left. We're talking like a 1/16 of an inch here, just so you can see the shadow of that color behind, if you can see that. So what you could do now is you could go ahead and adhere it in kind of this graceful hanging arch so that it looks as though it's hanging, or you can go the extra step, which is what we're going to do. And I'm going to punch little holes in these letters. Before I do that though, I think I want a little sub sentiment, because let's remember here on Cathy's card, she did this really nice small sentiment, and she did it in white embossed powder. So I kind of want to do that too. How about today is your day? Perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do is get out our Misty again and get this all lined up. And I'm going to put my letters off to the side up here so they don't get damaged. And that is perfect. So I'm going to pick that sentiment up. Let's get this down here. Make sure that didn't move. Tiny bit. Okay, let's pick that sentiment up. Move my hooray. I'm going to put some embossing powder here so that our sentiment stays nice and clean. Ink this up with some Versamark. And I'll probably do it twice. You can see it. I can see it there. You can see the shine of that Versamark on your vellum. Now this vellum is from scrapbook.com. And I really love it. It barely warps. This is Ranger Fine Detail White embossing powder. So I'm going with Cathy's Playbook and doing some white. And I think this is going to stand out just enough. And I can see some of that powder down here. And that's good. I don't need a brush here. I think that looks great. I'm going to turn on my heat gun for a couple of seconds before I go ahead and heat this up. Now we have that on. I'm going to close that. We can adhere the vellum to our pattern panel here. And I am going to use Scrapbook Adhesives Vellum Easy Runner. Because I only wanted to adhere the edges, I'm just smoothing it out from the center all the way out to my edges. How great is that? Today is your day. Now I'm using a really small punch here. I've had this punch forever. I think I just got it at a regular office supply store, or, it's not any special kind of punch. Ooh, I just caught the H. Okay, my H got stuck there. All right, we're all good. We're all good. My H survived. So I'm just putting 2 passes. Oh, 2 passes in here at the tops, and you want to make sure you're holding your O where it's going to be on the top. Remember, I'm keeping my shadows kind of on the bottom right, so I want to make sure that those holes are at the top of the O's. Now, you can totally do this without punching holes if you prefer, and you can just lay those alphas on top of some twine so that they have the appearance that they're hanging. I just thought I'd go the extra step here just to show you guys another way. And I'm going to put holes in this Y, both sides. There we go. Okay, I want to leave, definitely want to leave some room on the outsides to play with here. So I'm going to leave a big amount. I'm going down first, then up. Okay, and you can adjust these before you adhere, down and then up. But we're just making a little banner for our hooray. So Cathy's banner was like inferred, and now we're making a real banner. How fun is this? So there is my banner. And what we're going to do is make it really easy on ourselves and attach the banner around the sides of this panel by putting some adhesive on the back. Okay, so leave the backers on except for these 2 sides, because that's what we're gonna attach our sentiment to. And I can take off my needle here and give this a trim, because we do not need that much on the edge. And this is where you can play with the spacing. Nothing is set in stone until you put your adhesive on the back. So try to get the edges as long as you want them. That's the important part here. Get the spacing, kind of spaced out the way you want it, like that. I like that one. That looks pretty good. And then we are going to put this on the front, like so. And you just have to kind of wrap it around and get that twine where you want it to be. Kind of don't want it to be too saggy. Okay, and I push the twine into the back, and then I can go ahead and move these around. And then once I know that my twine is where I want it to be placed, I can put the panel down on my cardstock, and I will have a lot more freedom because then I'm not holding it. Okay. And then we're going to get this centered. This is always the scariest part, making sure that this is where we want it. Push down on that twine. Now I have a great idea for how to get this down, because I don't want to cut little pieces of adhesive. So I'm going to use these minuscule Zots These are great. These are little like sticky dots. And I'm going to grab my X-Acto, and I'm going to start in the center because you can pull this down in the center so that you get that kind of curvature that you want. So I'm going to put a zot on the bottom of the O and a zot on the bottom of the R. These are from Thermoweb. I really like these zots. Very, very handy for just such an occasion. Now, if you're thinking, this is way too fussy for me, Meg, I get it, but you can get the same kind of effect with these letter die cuts, just in a different way. So you can die cut them out and then place them in kind of this way. Just like, you know, Cathy's hearts here are kind of in that arch, but they're not hanging from anything. I'm gonna pull that O down slightly. See how the zots kind of move ever so slightly? That looks great to me. And now once you get the bottom in place, just put a single zot on top, underneath the top of the letter. Push that one down slightly. And then your letter will be in place and you don't have to worry about it shifting because both sides are down. Hooray! It's your day. I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna finish this card off. Cathy did some sequins, and I am going to grab the same colors of enamel dots. So I have watermelon, creamsicle, white. I think this one is Stardust, but it's close enough, and Harbor. So let's get these out. And I'm gonna put, you know, 5 or 6 here, I think. Let's get that one up there. Love this creamsicle, it's so pretty. I'm gonna put him down there. Creamsicle again, right there. And that is my finished card. So take a look. Take a look at these two together. Let me just clear up my mess here. I definitely was inspired by Cathy's card in, you know, this background that I have going on. I have a patterned background. I really loved these hanging elements, so I decided to hang my Hooray sentiment. And I also did some embossing with white embossing powder like Cathy did and added that sub sentiment. But I really loved Knock It Off. I mean, how fun is it to receive a card from Cathy Zielske and then to find inspiration from it? I hope you guys love what I created as much as I did, and it's given you some kind of inspiration today. Be sure to check out Cathy's video to see what I sent her, and we'll find out together what she created from it. You can find all of the products that I used to create this card in the links in my video description below. Thanks so much for joining me for Knock It Off today. Again, my name is Meghann Andrew, and I had such a blast. Thank you so much, Cathy, for inviting me to do this with you. I hope you guys will give me a follow, and happy creating.